Hey, it's DigiWorld Daily with a deck profile. This is my personal deck. I figured you guys might like to see, what the guy giving you all the casual news is playing. And he's not really doing anything particularly interesting, but let me show you what I got. So I play Magnamon X. I've been playing it since BT8. I will likely never switch. Well, that's not true. I'll probably play Marcus in BT12, but for now, and until the end of time, I am a Magnamon fan. So we run two different babies, 4 Upamon for the draw 1 when attacking if the target has no sources. That still happens a lot. And 1 baby Domon, which lets you draw if your opponent has more than 1 Digimon on the board, which is also really good. I run 4 Jamming Vmon, pretty standard. I am thinking about reducing that to 3, however. I run 3 of the BT8 Searcher Vmon, reveal the top 4, add a 2-color blue card. There's 23 targets in this deck, and all of them are really good targets for this. I run 2 of the EX1 Vmon because I feel like it's the best Vmon, and this is why I'm considering dropping the Jamming Vmon to 3, so that I can put the EX1 Vmon to 3. The gain 1 memory when you unsuspend happens a significant amount of time in an armor rush deck specifically, and I think that that's really good. I still run 1 of the starter deck 8 Vmon, just because if I have 7 or fewer cards in hand and I can play it early, I can get that extra draw out of it. I run 4 of the EX3. On play, you may trash a card with Imperial Dramon in its name or free in its traits to draw 2 cards. Sorry. Drawing is superior to searching, and this deck without this card has no way to draw if I'm not swinging. So this card, to me, is better than search 4, grab 1, lose 3, and instead it's just +2. And if I throw an armor in the trash, it makes Magnamon stronger. Very good synergy there. I have 1 Kumamon for game, but if I have to play him not for game, the Trash a Digivolution card is better value than, say, Lobomon, where it's just, play it and end the game. So it lets me have a little bit more utility. I have 4 Lydramons, because it's the main engine of the whole deck. You play Lydramon and Davis and Ken, and you get a ton of memory, of course. 4 Flame Dramon for his 8k DP swings. 4 Magnamon, because it's a Magnamon deck, and I'm not going to not run 4. Blocker and Armor Purge and his When Digivolving effect are all fantastic. 1 Chimeramon, and 4 Magnamon X Antibodies. I don't really have much to say about Chimeramon, but Magnamon X Antibody is still amazing. It's good against everything, really. Even if the target has more than 11,000 DP, and he's just a sacrificial lamb if you don't have a Magnamon to block for him, the security recovery is too good. 1 Death Xmon to deal with green. Green is a really bad matchup for rush-style decks if you don't have something to deal with that, and I think that Death Xmon is the answer. At first, I hated Death Xmon, and I wasn't going to play him in anything. And then I pulled one out of a box, naturally, and I still didn't play it. And then I lost to Bloomlord Mon, and I was like, okay, let's nip this in the bud right now. This is a good card for everything, and I'll run 2 if I pull another. I have 1 blue memory boost, mostly because not everything in this deck is blue anymore. It's still an amazing card for this deck, because if you get memory choked and you've got the blue memory boost, it gives you that chance to catch back up. 1 Gigadeath. I used to run 4, and that was a mistake. I used to run 0, and that was also a mistake. So we're doing 1. Gigadeath is just too powerful. It's an amazing security bomb. It's even more amazing if you're playing against green and all of their Digimon are suspended for whatever reason. Why would green suspend Digimon on your turn? And then 3 Megadeaths, because Megadeath it's a staple. You gotta have it. You gotta have it in everything that you can. It's just too good to get rid of your opponent's cards. I'm running 2 Fire Rockets. I would like to run 3, but I don't really have the space. It's the same problem that I'm having with Hammer Spark. I would love, personally, to run 4 Hammer Sparks. It's not happening. I don't have the space. I've got 1 armor texture. That used to be to a Jesmon GX, but I don't like Jesmon GX in this deck, actually. I thought it was going to be amazing, and I went above and beyond to get an alt art and a regular art Jesmon GX. Put them in the deck. Went to regionals, after just it was awful. I kept it in for 15 games. The 3 at regionals, the first time I played Jesmon GX, I misplayed and lost. Had I just kept him as Magnamon X, I would have blocked my opponent's attack and won. Just oversight. It's like, oh man, I nuked his security. Like, he had nothing left, but I couldn't get rid of his last Digimon. And then I didn't see it again in the other 2 rounds, or I drew it and just didn't have a way to play it. And then for all the games after that, it was more of the same. I never played it again. I never had the opportunity to. And I was just done. Like, he was good in the deck that he was used in, absolutely. But he does the same thing as Blitz Omnimon. And Armor Texture does the same thing. I mean, it needs to be your turn, of course, but Armor Texture to me is the same as playing Kumamon for game. And Blitz Omnimon, I think, is good, but he's not... I don't think he's worth it in this deck, but we'll see. I change this deck's build constantly. I run 2 Awakening of the Golden Knights. It's a very good card. I would probably run 3 if I had the space, but 2 is perfectly fine. If I can't go into Magnamon X, I will absolutely Digivolve a Flame Dramon into a regular Magnamon. Like, give me the double Armor Purge. It's amazing if your opponent doesn't have a way to bounce him back, or like send him to the bottom of your deck or throw him into your security. Just because it protects it from DP reduction, you get so much value out of having double Armor Purge. It just makes it funny watching your opponent desperately try to get rid of it. 2 Davises. 2 Davis, I think, has been the standard for a while now, and that holds true even now in EX3. Like, he's a good memory setter, and if you happen to pull a Lydramon on his Reveal the Top 3, you can potentially grab 2 Digimon to your hand with him. It's just good. I am running 1 Sora and Joe to get rid of sources for my Upamon, and to deal with people who like to build tall stacks of Digimon, which is pretty common. Not to mention the memory gain is really substantial whenever it comes up. And then finally, 4 Davis and Kin, which is the engine of this deck. Without Davis and Kin, Magnamon wouldn't be playable anymore. Armor Rush wouldn't exist. Just because if you have Davis and Kin, your memory gain goes from, flat 3 to 7, 9, 10 memory, depending on what you've got on the board and how many Davis and Kins you have. I ran into games where I had 2 and 3 Davis and Kin out, and I would just start my turn with 10 memory, and if I would just end the game. Like, if I didn't beat them that turn, they were dead the next turn. And I had enough setup that they wouldn't be able to kill me. But that's all the cards that I run. My worst matchups are still anything that de-digivolves. This deck suffers so bad to de-digivolve just because you can't keep the VMons on the board. Other than that, every other matchup is at least fair. OTK decks are a pain, but you've got blockers, and you've got Magnamon X. Bloomlordmon and other green decks would be a pain, but now we have Death Xmon. And then security control decks you can do okay against. Your best matchups are things like Crossheart that just don't have the DP. Crossheart decks, nobody plays Gamamon, but Gamamon doesn't stand a chance. Things like that. Anything that's like low DP or other rush style decks, and of course things that try to get out a bunch of Digimon but don't have the DP for it. If they can't get rid of your Magnamon, it's bad. So I really like this deck. I bring it to my locals, I bring it to my regionals. At my locals, depending on what store I go to, I'm top 4. I've done second place 4 times at one store, and 4th place consistently at my other store. So it doesn't win. I'm not a first place deck. Funny story though, I sold a copy of this deck to somebody when it had 4 Gigadeaths in it, and they just swapped the 4 Gigadeaths for 4 Megadeaths and took first place. So that was in BT 9. So the deck has potential. It has a lot of potential. It's just your matchups. And I really like this deck. I have a playmat for it. I have a Digi-Egg of Miracles deck box. I have all kinds of stuff that I'll probably show you guys in another video or some shorts later. But I think that this deck really encapsulates what I like about Digimon. I'm a huge fan of Season 2. Vmon is one of my favorite Digimon. Flamedramon, Raidramon, Magnamon are all favorites of mine. The Magnamon versus Chimeramon fight is still one of my favorite fights, and being able to bring that into the card game and enjoy it like this is probably my favorite thing about the new Digimon card game. Anyways, I think that's all the time we've got for this video, and I'll see you in the next one.